SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Hello and good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Today is the Masters. It's Thursday at the Masters. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We are glad to be with you and share this morning with you. We get closer to the weekend. We have another gorgeous day on the docket right here in the state of Mississippi. Lance, good morning.
Good morning. You didn't like my birds.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. You see, I had it playing. I was just waiting for you to say Masters.
I love it. I got got my Masters shirt on this morning.
You got the coffee cup?
Felt like a good day for the coffee cup. Yes.
Matching swag there.
I just said I'd leave the hats and the whatnot in the closet.
Did Calcavecchia get kicked out for using a phone? That's what I heard.
Yes, former Oprah. Well, you know, if you just wait for the sports update in about 40 minutes, you'd learn all about it. But sure, we can jump right on it.
I just,
former British Open champion Mark Calcavecchia. The rules even apply to major winners at Augusta National Golf Club. They say no phones, and they mean no phones. And Mark Calcavecchia had a phone out and spotted by a security guard, and he was asked to leave. When reached for comment, he said, "I have nothing negative to say about the Augusta National Golf Club, and I should probably end this call." Click.
They're listening.
He hung up. Yeah.
They're listening.
Oh, well, that actually is an interesting thing that you say right there. They may not be listening, but according to a story from Yahoo Sports, they may be tracking.
Yeah.
When you agree to purchase Augusta tickets, Masters tickets, you give up all rights. There's a lot of talk about how the secondary ticket market has basically gone away. 5 years ago, it was rampant. You had companies like StubHub that were renting houses and using them as ticket operation bases. You know, they might have 100 or 200 or 300 badges for the week, and people would come in, and they either had a half-day badge or a whole-day badge or a week-long badge. They would pick them up and go to the tournament, then come back, and they had food and drink. You had all these hospitality companies that were doing things like that, and the Masters decided that that's not how it was going to be. Whether it was because they wanted to control everything or they thought it was ridiculous that the market was being gouged the way it was. And so every badge, as they call them there, their tickets, has an RFID chip in it. And they have the ability to track the movement of tickets within a certain range. And so some of these houses that are close to the Augusta property, some of the places along Washington Avenue where they were kind of using them almost as like a broker shop, they can track the tickets that come from those areas or maybe that stay at those areas for a while before then coming directly into the tournament, flag them, and then you walk through security and you get a gentle tap on the shoulder. And they say, "Come with me, sir. Come with me, ma'am." And you are taken into a room and you are asked questions. And then you were escorted off the property. In that story, there was a man that said they were getting close to the gate where the gentleman was going to have to exit. And the security guard put his hand on his shoulder, and the would-be patron said to the security guard, "Is that really necessary?" And the security guard said to him, "You'd be surprised how many people run at this point." It's like, wow, what a story. If you're not going to watch, but you want to be outside today, it's going to be a pretty darn good day for it. 78 degrees today in Ripley, an overnight low in the mid-50s. Mostly sunny, a few clouds splashed in, slight chance of isolated showers as part of a broader pattern of rainy period in the broader pattern of some rainy periods in the northern part of the state, but mostly just going to be gorgeous. 79 for you today in Greenwood for your high, a low tonight of 58, mix of sun and clouds. Chance for those isolated showers really for the next week. A little farther south than the Magnolia State, Brookhaven, you've got a high of 78 today with an overnight low of 58. Partly cloudy with some light winds. Isolated showers are possible. Wouldn't say probable, but possible. 79 degrees today in Loosedale, southeast part of the state of Mississippi. 55 tonight for the overnight. Hold on, Richard. Overnight low. That's what I was trying to say. 55. Partly cloudy with more sun possible. Lance is the weather guy. Maybe I should let Lance do that.
Oh, yeah. You got it, man.
This is not a typo, Lance. You know that I had an issue earlier in the week getting off a day on the birthdays and then reversing it the next day to try and make up for it, and it was so incredibly complicated. You would think if in consecutive days I read you the name Isambard Kingdom Brunel. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's done it again. No way it could be. I have not. Yesterday was an on this day, and coincidentally today, the birthday of Isambard Kingdom Brunel. We decided that friends probably either called him King or Dom. He was born on this day in 1806, and he was one of the most brilliant men to ever live. Legendary British civil engineer. Here's what he designed. The Great Western Railway, the SS Great Britain, which was the first iron-hulled, screw-propelled ocean liner, and the Clifton Suspension Bridge. He is often considered one of the most influential engineers of the Industrial Revolution.
I'm just happy that we're bringing a spotlight to Mr. Isambard Kingdom Brunel. People need to know.
Doesn't it feel, I mean, he kind of got it going on the rails, on the sea.
Yeah, and a great name.
Yeah.
That's the trifecta, as what Vitale would say.
He's awesome, baby! Charles Baudelaire was born on 1821, the French poet, essayist, and art critic. He was known for his groundbreaking poetry collection, Les Fleurs du Mal, or The Flowers of Evil.
Ooh.
Yeah, major figure in modern literature and the symbolist movement.
Sounds dark.
If you don't believe me, I can't help you.
He's the guy that invented the black rose, I guess.
Leopold II of Belgium was born in 1839. He was the king of the Belgians who personally owned the Congo Free State as a private colony.
Yeah, you've got it going on when you own a whole state. It's just your personal holding.
Yes.
The Heart of Darkness, Joseph Conrad. The Apocalypse Now, the movie, the actual book was written about Leopold II's the Congo, the Free State of. Force Publique, that was the private army that he had down there chopping off hands, the folks that wouldn't produce enough rubber for him. But
yeah.
Brutal guy.
Notorious for exploitation and atrocities.
Oh, yeah.
Hugh Hefner, born on this day in 1926. The publisher and founder of Playboy magazine, started that in 1953, became a cultural icon for wearing silk robes and smoking a pipe.
Yeah,
among other things.
Yeah. Eventually, just basically all you ever saw him in was a silk robe and smoking pipe. That was it.
Yes. Some might call it a smoking jacket. Dennis Quaid, born in 1954. The Right Stuff, Inner Space, The Parent Trap, Far From Heaven.
Everybody's All Americans not on there?
Yeah.
Great football movie.
Yes, it is. Played Ronald Reagan in the 2024 biopic Reagan. Lil Nas X. Who, you might say? The rapper and singer who was born in 1999 exploded onto the scene with a hit that he recorded with achy breaky heart, Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah, our guy Billy Ray.
Old Town Road. Genre blending music. Gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
Improbable pairing there, but it worked out.
Yes, it is. Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus. And we got some really, really interesting stuff that happened on this day, the 9th of April in history. We'll get that for you coming up next. We got news headlines. What in the world is going on in Iran right now? We will try to maybe wrap our heads around it and a whole lot more. Back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi, and the Super Talk app.
Well, it's all right. As long as you got someone to lay with, it's all right. Every day is Judgment Day.
Hey, glad to be with you this morning alongside Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard Cross. Thanks for joining us. Mornings is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. The C Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. Right now at C Spire, new and current customers can get a free phone, watch, and tablet, plus 100 gigs of data for just $90. There's more to see. Visit cspire.com today. One more would-be birthday on the list. One of the great and iconic voices of the early 1900s, Paul Robeson.
I get weary and sick of trying. I'm tired of living and scared of dying. But old man River, he just keeps rolling on.
Paul Robeson, born in 1898, lived until 1976. He was an American bass baritone, an actor, an athlete, and a civil rights activist, a star in Showboat, where he sang the famous Old Man River, one of the most prominent black intellectuals and performers of the 20th century. What a voice.
Man, I caught him on a movie. It was set in Africa, and he was like a tribal leader, and he ends up tagging along with the white pioneers that are moving in, the Boers, if I remember. And it's a great movie. It's like 1940s probably. And all of a sudden, everybody starts kind of getting out of line, and this huge baritone voice stands up and starts bellowing, and all of these folks just start falling in line like, yeah, this is the guy we're following here. And he has this presence. If you haven't, you don't know. I didn't know much about him until I saw that movie, and I was so taken by it. I was like, man, I got to learn a little more about this guy. What a powerful voice and powerful figure.
And, of course, for those that live in North Mississippi or the Memphis area, you remember James Hyder, who sang for 21 consecutive years at the Sunset Symphony in Mississippi. He sang Old Man River. Let's go right now to Augusta.
My name is Fred Ridley, and on behalf of the membership of Augusta National Golf Club, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 90th playing of the Masters. Thank you for being with us. Today, I have the honor of introducing three legendary champions. Together, they have won a combined 11 green jackets and made an incredible 140 Masters appearances across 6 decades. This morning, we will add another milestone to their celebrated history here at Augusta National. First on the tee, it is my great pleasure to welcome back the Masters Tournament's first international champion and winner of 3 green jackets. From South Africa, please welcome Mr. Gary Player.
Doesn't the applause even sound a little different?
Yeah, they're looking around to see who's going to throw him out.
Well, Gary Player's son kind of got pushed out. Gary Player in his traditional all-black, famous for his workout routines. I feel like I've got to fill the gaps, even though you probably should just kind of let it go right here.
I thought they were going to say Ernie Els there. I'd totally forgotten about Gary Player.
Oh, no, 90 years old.
Yeah.
And he striped it. And then he gives a little kick down the fairway. Gary Player, the South African, always the showman. Jack Nicklaus will be the next.
Next, 60 years after becoming the first back-to-back Masters champion and 40 years after winning his 6th green jacket, we proudly welcome back our 6-time Masters champion and one of golf's great icons, whose historic record at the Masters has provided some of the tournament's most unforgettable moments. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jack Nicklaus.
Jack's got tears in his eyes. Eyes are glassed over.
Bring back my caddy for 40 years. Tee the ball up for me.
Jack, the tee is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Fred. Oh, boy. Watch out.
Jack's not moving real well.
I don't mean that facetiously.
And he kind of labored walking down the hill from the clubhouse to the first tee.
Okay.
He's stopping to wipe his eyes. I wonder if this is the last time he's going to hit this tee shot. He got it in the air, but that one did not find the fairway. A little snap hook from Jack Nicklaus there, and he's going to leave the tee in the ground. Wow. I don't know that I've seen it like that. All right, Tom Watson's going to hit a tee shot too, but we'll shut it down. I'll tell you what Fred Ridley is going to say. Enjoy the Masters. That's when he speaks for the last time. On this day in 1865, we had the end of the Civil War. Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered his Army of Northern Virginia, about 26,765 of them at the time, to Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant, the Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. This effectively ended major combat in the Civil War, though some fighting continued in other places. It was the beginning of the end to an incredibly dark time in our country's history. In 1942, the United States suffered its only surrender in global war conflict. U.S. and Filipino forces surrendered to Japanese troops in the Philippines. It was the largest surrender in U.S. military history. I shouldn't say only, but the largest. This led directly to the infamous Bataan Death March, in which tens of thousands of prisoners endured brutal conditions. April 9th, now observed as National Former POW Recognition Day in the United States. Lance, you, a student of history, I know have read plenty about the just awfulness of the Bataan Death March.
Definitely. I mean, terrible. And as well, the famous speech given by MacArthur when he returned. I have returned by the grace of Almighty God. Our forces stand again on Philippine soil. Finished it off at the very end there. Rally to me, let the indomitable spirit of Bataan and Corregidor lead on. And it was, several years later as he returned, but made that promise, was it August 24th, 1945, and fulfilled that promise even after such a terrible event as the forces had to move on from the Philippines in 1942.
1939, Marian Anderson, after being denied permission to sing at Constitution Hall due to racial discrimination, the renowned contralto performed an open-air Easter Sunday concert at the Lincoln Memorial for an audience of 75,000. It became a powerful symbol of the early days of the civil rights movement. In 1682, French explorer René Robert Cavelier Sieur de La Salle, or just de La Salle if you prefer, reached the mouth of the Mississippi River. And what did he say? It is ours. It is all ours. He claimed the entire Mississippi River basin for France, naming the territory Louisiana or Louisiana.
And then they figured out there were crawfish.
After King Louis XIV.
First crawfish boil happened a day after that.
Do we suck the heads?
What do we do with these things? Oh, man, just listen to
Just
something.
break them in half and, yeah. 1965, 1966. On this day, the world's first fully enclosed, air-conditioned, domed sports stadium, nicknamed the Eighth Wonder of the World, opened in Houston, Texas. The Astros played the first indoor Major League Baseball game there against the New York Yankees. It was the Houston Astrodome.
Yeah, that was it wasn't very ornate, but it was extremely practical.
Yeah, and historically significant.
Yeah.
And now it sits next to the Texans Stadium, which they want to tear down and build another. You could literally pick the Astrodome up and set it inside of what used to be NRG Stadium. I don't know if that's still the name or not. It was today in 1970 when Paul McCartney publicly declared that the Beatles were dissolving, marking the end of the most influential musical group in history and the close of the 1960s counterculture era. McCartney wanted to be a loner. And it was on this day in 2005 when that snake in the grass Charles married Camilla. The Prince of Wales wed his longtime partner in a civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall. First civil wedding for a member of the British royal family. It followed years of public controversy after the death of Princess Diana. And finally, 2018, 8 years ago today, Governor Phil Bryant officially proclaimed April 9th, 2018 as Bruce Livingston Day in the state of Mississippi. The Mississippi Delta-born pianist and composer, one of the most talented people I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. We're back with you right after this.
From this
On your radio, on our app, or on your smart speaker. We're always free. SuperTalk Mississippi, your home for mornings with Richard Cross.
When they play their music, that hard rock music, they like it with a lot of flash, but it's still that same old backbeat rhythm that really, really kicks them in the. They say
Glad to be with you. It is Thursday morning. Today is the 9th of April. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard. Glad to have you along for the ride. Let's jump into some news headlines and your morning sports update. Telecom giant C-Spire has completed a major project that will provide fiber internet access to more than 14,000 Mississippi homes and nearly 20,000 undeveloped lots. C-Spire was awarded a grant from the Treasury's Capital Projects Fund. That's a $10 billion program that subsidizes campaigns to increase access to high-speed internet in and underserved regions of the nation. C-Spire was tasked with making enhancements in its home state, notably in Amite, Lincoln, Lamar, Madison, DeSoto, and Hinds counties. The project, which was administered by BEAM, the Office of Broadband Expansion in Mississippi, was part of $164 million in total funds allocated to Mississippi for the construction and deployment of internet infrastructure. In addition to the work completed for the Capital Projects Fund, C-Spire continues expanding its fiber network across Mississippi in the past year. The company has invested $60 million in new fiber installations, laid 1,000 miles of new fiber for a total of Get this, 12,200 miles of fiber optic cable across Mississippi, passing through nearly 40,000 homes. Well done, C Spire. One Mississippi county is set to see 3 bridges upgraded, courtesy of nearly $35 million in grant money from the federal government. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith announced that $34.6 million is being sent to MDOT to replace 3 state-owned bridges in Tallahatchie County. The upgrades will occur along Mississippi State Route 32. Funding comes from the Federal Highway Administration Competitive Highway Bridge Program. The 3 bridges that will be placed: the Tallahatchie River Bridge, the Tallahatchie Relief Opening, and the Locopolis Bayou River Bridge.
One of those is the one that's owed to Billy Joe, right? Jumped off the Tallahatchie River Bridge.
I think so, yes.
Bobby Gentry, 1967.
Cindy Hyde-Smith chairs the Senate Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations Subcommittee. She submitted a letter of support for the North Mississippi Bridge Replacement Bundle. Brad White said she is responsible for getting this on the radar and getting it done. On Friday, flags across the state of Mississippi will fly half-staff in honor of slain Jackson County Deputy Michael Jefferson. We told you about him earlier this week. Governor Tate Reeves announced on Wednesday that the state would use Friday's flag demonstration to commemorate Jefferson's life and law enforcement service. He was shot and killed in the line of duty on April 1st. One more news item for you. Tate Reeves, 2 days ago, signed 37 bills into law. Yesterday, he signed 17 more. But he posted an explanation for a signature with a line item veto as it pertains to the opioid settlement bill. He writes, one of the bills that I signed today was the Attorney General's appropriation bill, House Bill 1924. In addition to funding the annual operations of the AG's office, the legislature also spent approximately $30 million in opioid settlement funds through this budget. Last year, the legislature, along with my signature, wisely set up an opioid settlement fund advisory council. He goes on to lay out the way the council worked. That's something that we have talked about. And then he continues, the legislature took many of the recommendations from the council, and I approved those expenditures in House Bill 1924. However, there were 3 expenditures that did not even merit an analysis in the final report of the council as sent to the legislature. Those 3 programs were $500,000 to Hope Squad, $800,000 to the Gulf Coast Center for Nonviolence, and $250,000 to Finally First. I have line item vetoed these 3 expenditures due to a lack of vetting by the advisory council established by the legislature in the 2025 session. In total, while these projects only represent $1.55 million of the $30 million allocated, I believe it would be imprudent for me to approve this spending without any knowledge of what or who these entities are or the specific purpose and expertise that would warrant them receiving funds. I have no issue with that. I don't know anything about those organizations. But if there was a process in place for everybody that received a portion of the $30 million that was being allocated this year, and these 3 entities got significant distributions without any vetting, without going through the same process as everybody else, I don't think I've got any problem with the governor vetoing those 3 particular entities, because he does say, I encourage them to apply to the 2026 cycle so that they can be properly evaluated just like the 125 other applicants from this year. That makes sense, doesn't it? Sure, there's somebody that's upset about it, but at least on the surface it makes sense. All right, time for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort, online at pearlriverresort.com. If you're watching the Masters today and you're like, man, I wish I could play a golf course that looked like it does with the azaleas behind the greens and the color everywhere and everything's just green and popping, I got good news for you. You can do just that at the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. 2 18-hole championship courses, aptly named the Oaks and the Azaleas. Book your tee time online at dancingrabbitgolf.com. Dancing Rabbit Golf, part of Pearl River Resort. Well, the young baseball player from the greater Jackson metro area has gone and done well. 2 years ago, Connor Griffin was playing at Jackson Prep, earning National Gatorade Player of the Year honors 2 years ago. In fact, Lance, 2 years right now. His high school season was not over 2 years ago right now. Now he has agreed to a 9-year, $140 million contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's the largest deal in the history of the Pirates organization. Called up last week, base hit in his first at bat, playing shortstop. The world is Connor Griffin's oyster right now.
Kid is a player, man. He
He is.
I remember my brother-in-law telling me when he was in 7th grade, yeah, this guy's going to be a first-rounder. I'm like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. He was right. And, you know, the only problem I got with it is it's the Pirates, but outside of that.
Beautiful stadium.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful place, great city, all that, but, man.
Yeah. Ball club that has not made the playoffs since 2015. Not going to have Paul Skeens that much longer. Got a couple of years left with him. I actually applaud what they did with Connor Griffin because I suppose it's harder to project position players than it is pitchers. You get a guy like Paul Skeens and you're like, what do you want, man? We'll sign you to whatever deal you want. And he's like, yeah, I'm good. We'll just stay on this little rookie deal. Because Paul Skeens in 2 or 3 more years is going to get a 10-year, $350 or $400 million contract with somebody, probably the Dodgers or the Yankees. Pittsburgh knows they can't play in those waters, but $140 million over 9 years with a guy that's only 19, hang on to him beyond being 23 or 24.
Yeah, and plus his frame.
It's good business.
Yeah, plus he's got a great frame. Like 6'3", lean.
He's huge.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of growth room in there. And he can fly. That guy can run, man.
Yeah.
So you got a multi-tool player.
Yeah. Who now has generational wealth.
Yeah. And Dad and Mom are like, all right,
yeah,
a little payback.
No phones at Augusta National, even for major champions. Mark Calcavecchia, the latest to find out what happens when you don't follow the rules. The 1989 Open champion was removed from Augusta National property yesterday for violating the no cell phone policy. Featured group coverage today on the Masters.com website, the Masters app. 9:07 Central Time, Bryson DeChambeau, Matthew Fitzpatrick, and Xander Schauffele. 9:31 Central, Rory, Cam Young, and Mason Howell, an amateur at the University of Georgia. A little bit after noon, John Rahm, Chris Gotterup, and Ludwig Oberg. And at 12:45 today, Scotty Scheffler, Bob McIntyre, and Gary Woodland. Go to Masters.com for the complete coverage schedule. That is your sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online, pearlriverresort.com.
From the Venable Glass.
You come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Did you just drop a turkey call?
You know it, dude. He got thrown out of the Masters 20 minutes ago. So. No, I was appeasing one of our listeners. Said, "Man, if you get an opportunity, throw a turkey call in there." I know it's turkey time, so
Yeah. I like it.
apropos.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. It's time for your Mississippi Lottery Update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, online at mslottery.com. Well, nobody won that little meager, measly $20 million Powerball jackpot yesterday, which means it grows. Saturday's drawing for $35 million. Cash value pops up to $15.9 million. There was no Tuesday night winner in Mega Millions, so Friday's drawing up to $110 million, $49,200,000, the estimated cash value. The Mississippi Lottery continues to deliver for the state thanks to strong support from players across Mississippi. In March alone, the lottery generated more than $10.4 million for state programs, building the fiscal year total to $98.7 million. Since launching in 2019, the Mississippi Lottery has returned more than $790 million to support infrastructure and education across the state of Mississippi. Well done.
Yeah, thank goodness. Mm-hmm. Think about without that.
Yes, significant revenue toward the state in the time that the lottery has been in place. That's your Mississippi Lottery update, mslottery.com, mslottery.com. This morning, Senator Andy Berry from District 35, Copiah, Jefferson, Davis, Lawrence, and Simpson County is going to join us. He's also executive director at the Mississippi Beef Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
I hope he has one of those, license plates on the front of his truck.
Yes. I told you that before, but I had a buddy in high school / college, and it was the time when a lot of people had the John Deere license plates on the front of their vehicles. We went through a time where, high schoolers and a ton of college kids had those, and he was a bit of a contrarian. No, it runs like a deer tag on the front of his, or the cotton ink tags. Yeah, the cotton tags everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
He had one that just said beef.
That's the one I'm talking about.
That was great.
Yeah, the white with the red letters.
Yeah. Is this white with red letters or red with white letters?
I think the ones I'm used to seeing were around here were the white tag with red kind of script letter. Yeah.
A beef tag on the front of a Jeep Grand Cherokee. That is how he rolled. Love it. Love it. So we'll
talk. Bison, maybe a buffalo. Grand Cherokee.
Could you still call that beef?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be, right? It's a big cow.
Yeah. I don't know. If you were driving a BMW, would you put one on there that said Wagyu?
That would be good, yeah. With dipping sauce, too.
Well,
you gotta have that, yeah.
Although in fairness, that probably should be on a Lexus, not a BMW.
Yeah. Wagyu with hollandaise. Yeah,
we'll go Japanese A5. I got you tickled there for a second. You weren't headed that direction with me.
No, I'm glad I wasn't drinking coffee.
Oh man, keyboard might be a mess.
Be fired, right?
Oh, pleasure being with you this morning. Don't forget that Middays with Gerard Gibbert will be live from the South Highland Colony Parkway in Ridgeland. So that's a building. That's not a road. Yes? I'm assuming yes. That's what it says. He's going to be at the South Highland Colony Parkway in Ridgeland. Madison County Economic Development Authority will be discussing how they recruit and retain industries in the area, helping create thousands of jobs and billions in investment.
I got an update. One of our former guests here, Fred Shanks, who we were going to do some arm wrestling, on air at one time, but
you were. I was not.
No, not me. I had him paired up with somebody, another representative. Oh, yeah, it was hilarious. And Fred's a great guy, but he said Representative Price Wallace has the beef tag on his turbo diesel.
He's a cattle farmer, right?
There you go, yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
I mean, if you were from Vietnam, would you do one that said catfish, kinda?
Bassa. That's the name of it, isn't it?
Oh, me. Jason in Starkville, did he have bull horns on the hood? No, but you know what he had on the back?
Yeah,
on the trailer hitch.
You had the truck
just
still.
dangling.
Oh, we had that too. They were just leather hanging from the rearview mirror. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I love those days. Yeah, the good old basic before truck nuts. You had the leather ones, and you hung them from the rearview mirror. And my mom always thought that was terrible, and my dad loved them.
I don't think you can say what you just said.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, hopefully, I won't get fined.
It's not.
I've heard it on the radio before. Them use the truck N word.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Although I guess using other words that are more like literal would be.
Yeah, I didn't go
sound
that
worse.
Yeah.
We're back after this. News is next.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Now that I'm starting to learn, I feel I'm growing old, 'cause yesterday's got nothing for me. Oh, pictures that I'll always see. Time just fades the pages in my book of memories.
7 o'clock hour. Good morning to you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. For those of you that are getting out the door, getting kids to school, or headed off to work yourself, we hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for making us part of your morning commute. If you want to take us to your desk with you, you can go to supertalk.fm and listen online. You can take us anywhere on the SuperTalk Mississippi app. It is free and available to you in the App Store and from Google Play. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. Online at communitybank.net. We're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Thanks for being with us. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. With C Spire, it's easier than ever to get all the devices you want in one move. They call it the Ultimate Connect Bundle. Right now, new and current customers can get a free phone, watch, and tablet, plus 100 gigs of data for just $90. That includes the new iPhone 17 or the Samsung Galaxy S26 for free, and a free smartwatch and a tablet to go with it. So don't wait. There's more to see. Visit cspire.com. or stop by your local C Spire store today. C Spire text line. You are sending us lots of license plate ideas. Somebody pointed out that Connor Griffin's first hit in the big leagues was an RBI double. Yeah, I mean, that's better, I suppose, than just a seeing eye ground ball single. Connor Griffin's going to be really good. Thomas, in response to a couple of the news items that I mentioned, said welfare internet and welfare bridges. Depending on your definition of welfare, he's not wrong. If you are of the mind that anything that comes from the government to its citizens without an attached bill is welfare, then, yeah, you can classify it that way. What were you going to say, Lance?
No, I think we've been kind of doing that around the world, too, you know. I mean, subsidizing the internet and bridge building, and it looks like we'll maybe building a few more here over there in the Middle East here soon.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. They'll be using their money, so to speak, but our
so
money.
To speak. Yeah. Of course, the flip side of that is if you pay taxes, and I think we all do, and if we don't, we're probably headed to jail eventually.
I may need to get on the filing part of that.
Yeah. You know what I like to do on April 15th?
File the extension.
File the extension. October 15th is tax day in my world.
I love it. I would always recommend that as an advisor, too. Hey, just push it out, man. Use your money.
Yeah. I wish I could say it was some incredible investment strategy. My accountant says it's because, well, he actually is nicer than that. He doesn't chastise me for it because I guess they have it. I did tell, I got a message the other day. It's like, hey, I need you to send me this and sign this. And I said, I'm sorry for being your worst customer. He did tell me that I was far from his worst customer. So I guess there are people who are less organized than I am. All right. So what in the world is going on in Iran right now? Because yesterday, really the night before, we got news of a ceasefire. I think most of us with functioning brain cells thought the ceasefire was tenuous at best, and that there was a good chance that you could not, you couldn't trust Iran. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Kalibaf, I don't know, said Wednesday that a ceasefire negotiations with the U.S. on ending the war is unreasonable. And he accused the U.S. of violating 3 of Tehran's 10 conditions for an end to the fighting. It comes as the not yet day-old ceasefire appears at risk of fraying over significant disagreements between the parties. We'll get to the 10-point plan with air quotes around it in just a moment. Both the United States and Iran claimed victory after the two countries and Israel kind of agreed to a 2-week ceasefire to halt more than a month of war, even as more drones and missiles hit the Islamic Republic and the Gulf Arab states. Israel has pushed forward in its war against Hezbollah militant groups in Lebanon, striking dense and commercial residential areas of Beirut without warning. Lebanon said at least 182 people were killed and hundreds were wounded. It was reportedly the worst attack since the pager operation over a year ago, making it the deadliest day in the latest Israel-Hezbollah war. Didn't they have a ceasefire for a little while? Kind of. Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu said early on Wednesday that the ceasefire deal doesn't cover fighting against Hezbollah, contradicting with Pakistan, the deal's broker, and other nations had said. Iran has closed, kind of, the Strait of Hormuz in response to Israel attacks on Lebanon, and the U.S. said, open it now. All sides have presented vastly different versions of the terms of the ceasefire. In one instance, Iran said the deal would allow it to formalize its new practice of charging ships passing through the Straits of Hormuz, which the White House said that U.S. President Donald Trump opposes. And finally, Pakistan said that talks set to seek a permanent end to the war could begin in Islamabad as soon as Friday. The White House confirmed that J.D. Vance will lead the United States negotiating team. So, what about this 10-point plan from Iran? I don't think I've got time to play it. It's kind of a long clip from J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, standing on the tarmac outside of Air Force 2 in Hungary yesterday, said, I've seen 3 different versions of this plan. There was the original one, which was a complete non-starter. There was a second one, which negotiators had come closer to agreeing on and at least set the framework for the negotiations going forward. And then there was a third one that CNN and the New York Times and others picked up and said, this is it, this is the gospel. So what is in the alleged demands for Iran? Well, here you go. In case you're curious and you haven't read it. A guarantee of non-aggression. Iranian officials have told mediators they want a global power such as China or Russia to act as a guarantor for them against further aggression, though it isn't clear that we would agree to that. Iran will continue to control the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump has demanded the full opening of the strait. The question is, what about dollars related to passing through the strait, because it has been free? Iran wants us to accept their right to enrich uranium. President Trump has said that would not be something that the United States agreed to. Iran allegedly has softened its stance on that a bit, but there may be a little bit of wiggle room giving them the ability to enrich token amounts of their stockpile of enriched uranium. Primary lifting of all primary sanctions. Iran wants the U.S. military's or the United States primary sanctions lifted, which stop U.S. companies and people from doing most business with Iran. Congress would have to approve this, which seems unlikely. They want the lifting of all secondary sanctions. That's something that happened back in 2015 under the nuclear agreement that the Obama administration signed off on. They want the termination of all Security Council resolutions. The UN would have to lift those. Neither Washington nor Europe is likely to be eager to allow Iran to rebuild its military legally with Russian or Chinese weapons, though they'll probably do it illegally regardless. Iran wants a termination of all IAEA Board of Governors resolutions. That is the International Atomic Energy Association, I think. They want reparations paid to them to help rebuild. That worked out really well the last time we gave cash to Iran. They want the withdrawal of U.S. combat forces from the region. That is not happening, at least for now. And they want a ceasefire on all fronts, including Hezbollah in Lebanon. Why would they want that? I thought Iran has not officially said that Hezbollah is part of them, except for the fact that we all know that Iran, the largest sponsor of state terrorism, funds Hezbollah and Hamas and other terrorist organizations. There's optimism that there's going to be some sort of an agreement between the two, but if those are the conditions for Iran, feels like you might as well just fire the tanks and the missiles and the planes back up. We're back with you right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You can have a great beef dinner in no time at all. Well, almost no time at all. Beef. It's what's for dinner.
Outstanding. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Thank you for being with us on this Thursday morning, the 9th of April, 2026. Happy to welcome in our first guest this morning, Senator Andy Berry. He represents District 35, and he is the executive director of the Mississippi Beef Council. And no, he is not driving. He assures us that he is pulled off on the side of the road in Collins, Mississippi. Senator, it's not my place to get into your business, but I am curious, contractually, through your role with the as executive director of the Mississippi Beef Council, are you allowed to eat anything other than steak?
You know, occasionally we do have to have a little variance to our diet, but we include beef pretty regularly around here. And kudos to Lance. He's on fire with that bumper music this morning. I heard the turkeys gobbling earlier, and then the beef it's what's for dinner rodeo music. You just can't get better than that this morning.
That is outstanding. I was telling you a little while ago, you may have heard this. I had a buddy in high school and then into our early college years. It was a time when the Cotton Incorporated license plates were big. You would see that bowl of cotton on the front of a lot of cars and trucks, and you'd see a lot of John Deere logos on there, and he just had the license plate on the front of his car that said beef and nothing else. I thought, you know what? That's absolutely perfect.
I've got one on the front of mine. It's well worn from a lot of road travel, and y'all were talking about the different colors. We have them, and we can accessorize to any color you want. We've got pink, turquoise, red, black, white, just whatever you want. We can hook you up.
Beef for the people.
Even have an Ole Miss red and blue. Have Ole Miss red and blue for you, Richard.
Well, I have heard a rumor that Ole Miss fans also eat steak.
They do, and they also raise cattle. We don't discriminate in the cattle business.
There you go. Let's talk a little bit about the beef industry. We're looking at rising prices across all segments of agriculture in Mississippi. We know that row crop farmers have had significant issues and significant challenges. We know that tree farmers have had issues. I feel like we don't always talk about the cattle industry as much, the beef industry as kind of writ large. Certainly there were issues that were related to tariffs. Kind of give us an overall update from your perspective with the Mississippi Beef Council on where we are with the beef industry.
Well, from a cattle perspective, we're down in total cattle numbers in Mississippi, and that's mainly two factors. One, that's driven by drought, going back to 2023, and that affected all of agriculture. We're still seeing effects in forestry and particularly cattle. That we had a drought really across the country, nationwide, and so that led to a lot of liquidation of our cattle herd. People couldn't feed them; they just sold them, and so you have less cattle numbers out there. That's one of the reasons we have the higher beef prices now, and two, we have an aging farmer population. I'm 52, and I'm probably one of the younger ones in my community that have cattle, and it's hard work. I was on a tractor at about 8:30 last night. I was back out feeding this morning at 5:30, and doing a daytime job. So not everybody wants to have that lifestyle, and so that's led to some liquidation and lower numbers of our cattle herd in the state.
There are a lot of barriers to entry for young farmers, especially row crop farmers. When you look at the cost of equipment, tractors, combines, planters, pickers, all of the pieces that go within it, I don't think there are quite as many equipment needs when you talk about the beef industry. Are there fewer barriers to entry? You talk about an aging farmer population. Is that an area that younger farmers should be looking?
I think so, and I think there is we're not buying $1 million cotton pickers or combines, but we have significant cost. Right now your average cow, if you just gonna go buy a cow, $2,500 to $3,500. I'm having to replace a bull next week, and I fully expect to pay $8,000 to $10,000 just for one bull, and I've got several that I have. And so you see, the inventory cost of your cattle herd is higher. We still have to have tractors, hay balers, bush hogs, sprayers. Fencing is something that's extremely expensive. When you go and try to fence, 40 acres, you're going to spend a pretty penny on that before you ever turn the first head of cattle out. So, and I think there's opportunity there if you can find that older farmer who has the infrastructure in place, that a young guy could come in and work a deal out to use or rent the place there.
Is there a general working theory for how much land you need per cow?
For a mature cow, you're looking at 1 to 2 acres per cow, probably 2 to be very safe. There's a couple different segments. There's people that take calves right off the cow and raise them up for a few hundred pounds, and so you can do that on probably less than an acre per head. But for your general cow calf guy, probably around 1.5 to 2 acres would be a safe assumption of land use.
For your cattle farmers, I guess it's okay to describe them that way. Those who are raising cattle, if you go to a nice restaurant, there are all different kinds of steak that you can order. You can get USDA Prime. You have these options like Australian Wagyu and Japanese Wagyu. What kind of cattle are being raised for the beef industry in Mississippi?
So you see a little bit of that higher end Wagyu breeding around. It's a very small percentage. Mostly are just kind of an English base, which is your Hereford, your Angus, and then you'll have a little bit of some of the European breeds, the Simmental, Limousine, and then a lot of our herd, particularly in South Mississippi, has a Brahman component to it. Maybe not full blood, but just for the heat and insects, they do a lot better and still produce a pretty palatable product in the end, which is what all of our cattle producers do. And I think we've done a great job as an industry keeping our quality up, and that's one of the reasons that we've enjoyed strong demand even with higher prices at the beef counter.
What about fuel prices? Obviously, we see the price at the pump with a huge escalation just in the last 6 weeks based on what's happening on the other side of the world. But we've seen them kind of trickling up for a little while now. Is there a direct correlation to beef prices with fuel prices?
I think it's a component. I don't think it's as much a driver as just the supply and demand curve. You're going to see a little bit of price increase because, Richard, what people don't understand, cattle are one of the few commodities that can't be from a mass production go from conception basically to consumption. So in Mississippi, like corn, timber, a lot of cotton, it can be planted, it can be grown. Poultry can do the same thing and have a final product here in Mississippi. For cattle, you have to ship those out to the Midwest to be fed in those large scale operations. So I saw a truck this morning leaving by my house, 18-wheeler. He's probably headed west for 10, 12-hour drive to drop a load of cattle off. And so, $5-6 diesel affects those types of trips, and it adds cost to every animal that we sell.
Not all cows are the same. Obviously, there are different goals in cattle operations. Is there a relationship that exists between the beef cattle industry and dairy farmers?
Yeah, there is. In Mississippi, unfortunately, we've seen just a drastic decline in our dairy farmers due to a number of reasons that I'm not an expert on all of that, but I hate to see those. Those are some hardworking people that work hard to produce milk, and I love a good glass of milk. But what we're seeing nationwide is that when they're breeding their dairy herd, they're putting a large percentage of that mixed with beef. And instead of just a straight dairy animal, you're having a half beef, half dairy animal that can go into the food consumption chain. And so that's helped bolster our cattle numbers across the country. But they still keep a few for replacements that they breed dairy on dairy. But that's one big driving industry in our industry is that beef on dairy cross.
Senator Andy Berry represents District 35. We've been talking about, I guess, more role as his executive director with the Mississippi Beef Council. If you've got time to hang with us, I'd love for us to talk a little bit about this legislative session that has just come to an end. Know you're on the road. He said he pulled off on the side of the road in Collins. I don't think the Collins Zoo is there anymore, is it?
It is not, but Collins is probably one of the largest cattle counties in the state. And so it's full of cattle down here in Copiah County.
There you go. We will continue the conversation with Senator Andy Berry representing District 35. Those are Copiah, Jefferson, Davis, Lawrence, and Simpson counties are parts of those 4 counties. Right now we'll take a quick time out. Mornings of Richard Cross presented by Community Bank. We're back with more from Senator Andy Berry right after this.
I'm sleeping in my clothes again and telling friends I'm fine. I can't get over this hangover heart. Yeah, just can't seem to shake this hangover heart.
Ahead of the curve.
With Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
The cattle are prowling, the coyotes are howling, way out where the dog is born. Where spurs are a-jingling, a cowboy is singing this lonesome cattle call.
I think Lance going into the deep cuts this morning as we continue our conversation with Senator Andy Berry. He represents District 35 and is also executive director of the Mississippi Beef Council. We talked a good bit about beef. Let's turn our attention to, pork, maybe. That's a euphemism there as we talk about the conclusion of the 2026 legislative session. I asked one of your colleagues a couple of weeks ago how he would grade this legislative session on an A through F scale. As a member of the Mississippi Senate, what grade would you give the legislature for this year?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I'm around a B, and I frame that, Richard, in being I'm in Covington County. I've got a good friend whose father was in the House back in the 70s, and he'd been up there most of the session and came home one Saturday and went to the local coffee shop, and somebody there was giving him a hard time saying, y'all been up there all this time and y'all hadn't got a dadgum thing done. And my friend's father, who was in the House, replied, yes, and that's the best you can hope for. And so I kind of phrase that in that sometimes maybe the less we do, the better. But I'd say probably somewhere in a B, low B.
What do you think the most significant thing is that was accomplished this year during the session?
The North Mississippi relief deal that we did, I think is going to play, be very vital in your part of the world where you live at. I can remember where I live at where tornadoes and storms came through, and we didn't have that program. I would like to see us maybe expand that in the future to be something that's available to all the time, not just for an ice storm, because we have tornadoes and storms come through all the time that affect these small counties, small cities that just don't have the funds to be able to pay that up front, and get a little help like that with that loan program, where even if FEMA doesn't kick in, they can pay that back over time. I think is significant.
Let me follow up on what you said there, because that's a really interesting point that I don't think we've talked about. Is this almost like a trial run for this particular program? Obviously, there was extreme devastation in North Mississippi, Northeast Mississippi, and so this program goes into place. Is this a situation where you can say, let's see how this works? If it works the way that it wants to, then maybe this makes a lot of sense as an ongoing program that Mississippi could use for itself?
Well, I don't know that was. I wasn't involved in the formation of this. I certainly supported it, but that would be my hope, is that we could establish something like this that's there, and there's a pot of money that counties or cities could borrow from, or to use until they got reimbursed from FEMA, because it takes a while for that money to come from DC, and also I'm afraid that pot's going to be drying up a little bit. So if we had a low interest loan program out there to help these small communities and cities, I grew up in a little town called, and there's probably 300 folks there, very small tax base, and the tornado came right through downtown a couple of years ago, and it's a significant cost and burden on the county and the city to get that cleaned up. That a little help would have certainly gone a long way. It wasn't to the scale that FEMA could get involved, but it was really locally devastating there for that thing. So some help would have certainly been appreciated.
Yeah. We know the Lieutenant Governor left us with the words that we'll probably see you soon. Do you anticipate being called back to Jackson in the next week or so?
Oh man, I hope not. I laughed with somebody Monday, because we finished up Friday. Monday, the air was clearer, the sky was brighter, and everything was just a little greener. Not having to go to the Capitol, so there's a few issues out there that we may have to come back for. I would certainly hope not.
And I think the Lieutenant Governor kind of classified it as ancillary issues, just some cleanup stuff. So you don't think if you have to go back, unless it is for a special session called by the governor, that this is a major operation? It's more of a paperwork and kind of tying up some loose ends deal?
If we do, I hope it would be a one long day. And again, Richard, I'm down close to number 50 out of 52, so I don't get asked a lot about what we're going to do or what we should do there just yet. But we hear rumors that we may have to come back, but I hope not.
Senator Andy Berry represents District 35. In your particular line of work with the Beef Council, was there legislation that stood out to you for farmers? I know we had the I guess getting rid of sales tax on heavy equipment and labor related to those that did not make it out of the legislature this year, but there was some relief that was provided for farmers, I think.
Yeah. So the big ag tax bill unfortunately did not make it through, and I supported that. We as an industry we supported that. We did have a kind of a compromise ag tax bill that included agricultural lime, and then fencing material that contains livestock fencing, and all those are made to commercial farmers. The Department of Revenue can issue a commercial farmer's permit that allows you to get that exemption at a retailer, and so that's important. Just it's going to farmers, and so the ag line goes to 0, the fencing goes to 1.5. Representative Bill Pygott had that bill from the House, and so that was a big one. Another one, we talked about milk earlier. We banned the sale, manufacture, and distribution of cell cultured milk. That's a companion to the cell cultured meat bill that we did last year. That was something that I think is very popular with the members and the public as well. That cell cultured is really scary stuff when you get into it.
Is that something that people were finding on the shelves in grocery stores? I mean, you've got a gazillion different varieties right now of milks that you can buy. You can buy your regular 2% whole and skim milk, but then you can get the lactose-free versions and the oat milk and all of the different things. This is different than that, right?
Yes, this is completely different. Those are juices, technically, because you can't milk an oat or milk a soybean. So I call them juices, and so labels matter, Richard. We've gone through a big social of pronouns and labels matter, and particularly to your food, and so that's more of a labeling issue with those products. But what we do see is technology advancing in the cell culture, where you take a single cell and you can add a bunch of stuff to it and make it reproduce and grow a meat crumble or can produce some milk from that. And so the technology behind that is really scary. It kind of replicates cancer and how they grow those things, and there's just not a lot of information about that. So, I think the intent of the legislation was to let's just don't allow that until we have some more information about it. And only there's only been a poultry product approved to be sold commercially that's been cell cultured, but we see that as a sector that's growing, and so Mississippi actually got out in the forefront of that and prohibited those items before a lot of other states did.
Andy Berry is my guest, wrapping up our time together. He's the senator that represents District 35, also executive director with the Mississippi Beef Council. I don't want to get too off in the weeds here, but we look at autism in particular, and we have seen just massively rising rates in autism and in other health areas as well, where outcomes are not as good as maybe they once were. As someone who's involved in growing the food for our state, as all the members of the Beef Council are there safeguards that are being taken, or is there more of a push toward clean agriculture with fewer pesticides, fewer chemicals involved that might help some of those outcomes along the way?
Yeah, Richard, I'm not an expert on the correlation between any type of food input and any type of diseases, particularly autism. I don't know that, but what I will tell you is, from a food safety perspective, that's something that we as an industry take great pride in. USDA establishes withdrawal times, safety factors for anything that we give our cattle are around. There is a very stringent process that all these products go through, be it animal health products, be it herbicides, be it pesticides, that our industry uses, and I'm confident that what we're using is safe. I think that there's some times that our friends in the court system get involved that maybe overblow some of this in the name of lawsuits and settlements, and so I have full faith and measure in the USDA and our FDA in their input and guidance of how we use our ag technologies.
Andy Berry with the Mississippi Beef Council and also a state senator representing District 35. Safe travels to you on the road today. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
I think we covered a lot of ground, and I appreciate it very much.
Richard, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me this morning.
Look forward to visiting with you again soon. That is Andy Berry, Senator for the great state of Mississippi. We're going to take a time out. We've got more coming up with you. We'll wrap up the 7 o'clock hour next on MRC.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center.
It's time to get real.
Keeping it real
It's time for you to get real with it.
and keeping it Mississippi. Your voice for statewide and national politics.
Yes!
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Thanks for joining us this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. About 9:45 last night, President Trump went to Truth Social, his platform of choice, and he posted this. All U.S. ships, aircraft, and military personnel with additional ammunition, weaponry, and anything else that is appropriate and necessary for the lethal prosecution and destruction of an already substantially degraded enemy will remain in place in and around Iran until such a time as the real agreement reached is fully complied with. If for any reason it is not, which is highly unlikely, then the shooting starts. Bigger and better and stronger than anyone has ever seen before. It was agreed a long time ago, and despite all of the fake rhetoric to the contrary, no nuclear weapons, and the Strait of Hormuz will be open and safe. In the meantime, our great military is loading up and resting, looking forward, actually, to its next conquest. America is back. Strong words last night from the president via Truth Social. What does it mean? Well, maybe to add a little bit of context, a report from Tel Aviv this morning from Fox News.
The Iranians are trying to put out disinformation already. And yesterday we reported on a 10-point plan, and I'm told by a U.S. official that that was actually an old plan that the Iranians put out because they wanted people to talk about it and try to put their perspective forward. And so we are correcting that today, and we spoke with U.S. officials yesterday who said that is not the latest plan. There is an updated plan that the president agreed to, and despite these efforts by the Iranian regime to try to spin negotiators, this will be incredibly consequential this weekend to see whether or not they are serious about creating a good faith deal.
So you have J.D. Vance, Steve Witkoff, probably Jared Kushner and others who will lead the negotiations for the Americans in Pakistan, Islamabad, where they will host these negotiations with Iran. And presumably they are negotiating an end to the war, a permanent ceasefire, presumably. But there are positions which appear to be non-negotiable for the United States, and there are positions which appear to be non-negotiable for Iran. And I don't know that those non-negotiables line up enough that you can get to a place where you get meaningful compromise. And there's another part to this. With whom are you negotiating? Are you negotiating with the IRGC? Are you negotiating with some faction within Iran? Because the opinions that exist among Iranians on what the future of this conflict should be and what the outcome should be vary wildly. And just because you reach a settlement with one faction, does that mean that you cover across the board all the varying opinions? My guess is no. I think the leadership of the United States is smart enough to know that you better have the right decision maker at the table on the other side of the table. And maybe that's the importance of Pakistan playing a role in this. I do think there's something that you have to remember with regard to the Islamic extremists who believe in their heart of hearts, at the core of their being, with everything that is in them, that their reason for living is to destroy and eradicate the Jews. Here in the United States, we have disagreements all the time. Republicans and Democrats disagree on virtually everything. And sometimes those disagreements spill over into what we might classify as hate or hatred. I don't think it is possible for us to comprehend the level of hatred, disdain, abhorrence, disgust, and whatever other words you want to use to describe how the Islamic extremists view the Jews. They view them as the scourge of the earth. They hate Israel and everything that it is and everything that it represents with all of their being. And Israel, on the other side, believes that they have to wake up every single morning of their lives to defend just their right to live. That's why they are fighting against Hezbollah and all of these other terrorist groups that have continued to attack them as proxies for the IRGC. Getting past that at a negotiating table, when many of the Islamic extremists, the IRGC group, don't care if they live or die because their mission in life to eradicate the Jews is greater than their interest in living, that's a really hard person to negotiate against.
From breaking news to bold opinions, Richard dives into the stories shaping Mississippi and the nation. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
8 o'clock hour, final hour of the show on this Thursday morning, and we have got a lot to cover with you. Thanks for joining us and for being part of the conversation. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. We're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances? Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. There is a story right here in the state of Mississippi, in and around Hattiesburg, that is continuing to develop on an almost monthly basis. And that is the excellence that goes along with William Carey University, and specifically its College of Osteopathic Medicine. New rankings from U.S. News and World Report are out. And let me just not spoil all the surprise for you. They are very, very good. Happy to be joined this morning by the president of William Carey University, Dr. Ben Burnett, and the dean of the College of Osteopathic Medicine, Dr. Italo Subbarao. They are with us this morning. And gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Great to be with you again. Good morning.
Good morning. Morning, Richard, and great to be with y'all. I'm an avid listener every morning, so it's good to be on this side, and it's a great honor. And we appreciate what SuperTalk does for us, especially in the Hattiesburg area. We have such a great relationship and been such a good partner. So we're just glad to be with you.
Yeah. I just want to thank you for meeting with us this morning and helping us share this really exciting news that we're thrilled about this acknowledgement.
I don't know how the two of you feel about billboard advertising, but the screen behind you that says number 1, tier 1, number 3, and number 3, I feel like that might look good on the side of an interstate here in Mississippi. Number 1 for highest percentage of graduates practicing in primary care. and number one for best medical schools for primary care. That is within the osteopathic medicine groups across the country. Let's stop there and pause just for a second, because Dr. Subbarao in particular, we know that Mississippi for a long time now has had a shortage of doctors, especially in rural healthcare settings. And we know that part of that shortage has specifically been within the primary care space. Talk to us about what this means, what William Carey's College of Osteopathic Medicine is doing in terms of graduates that it is placing into the medical field.
First of all, Richard, just a slight correction in that this U.S. News recognition is among all medical schools, MDDO. So This is national, among all 300 medical schools that are out there. We are the number one medical school for primary care in the nation.
That's even better.
And so yes. So we come to you to say, in 2010, we had our board of trustees made a commitment to trying to provide a solution to the healthcare challenges of Mississippi, and recognizing that we have too few doctors in these rural communities, primarily primary care docs, which are family docs, internal medicine docs, pediatricians, obstetricians, psychiatrists. And these are the folks that, you go to. These are the doctors that are part of your family. And these are the docs that if you can go, in your neighborhood, you go to that doctor, they're going to help you keep you healthy, prevent illnesses from going forward. And so this was the commitment. We started with the mission to say, when we plant this seed, we're going to have a tree, and this little mustard seed is growing here, and when we plant this seed, what we're going to see are fruits, and those fruits are going to be doctors that are going into our rural and underserved communities and serving them, that are walking with our patients. And this acknowledgement today recognizes that we are doing and exceeding exactly what we've set out to do. And it is a profound blessing from the divine hand of the Lord that guides us and that has shown us the way. And I really believe this fire that you see here is showing us that transformation, healthcare transformation, is afoot in Mississippi. It takes time. It's going to take a little bit more effort. But we are on the right trajectory, and I really believe wonderful things are in the future, and better health care is in the future for all Mississippians.
Question for you, Dr. Subbarao, and I ask this with the acknowledgement that one of my dearest friends is a DO. He was an ophthalmologist and went to DO school before that. Our family pediatrician is a DO as well. Can you explain the difference between DO and MD? Because I feel like there are some people out there that see DO as opposed to MD at the end of their doctor's name, and they go, well, what's different about that?
Yeah, well, a DO and MD, we both go to school for 4 years, undergraduate medical education. We, as DOs, take the same education that the MDs take, but we have additional education where we are able to learn how to use our hands. We actually can look at the musculoskeletal system as a window to disease. And with our hands, we can do things like physical therapy, chiropractic type techniques. That is an additional tools kit that we've got. Furthermore, it is really a philosophy of a holistic approach to our patient. It's the ability to walk with our patient where they are. So if you come into our office and you say, hey, look, I've got a headache, we don't just give you 2 Tylenol and go home. We want to know, what's going on in your life. Talk to us about stress. What are you eating? How are you sleeping? Are you consuming too many things you shouldn't be consuming, smoking, drinking, et cetera? So we really want to walk with our patients, build that trust. And so after those 4 years, we do the same residencies as our MD brothers and sisters. We come out and we get board certified, and we can practice in all states. And the reason the DO kind of brand came out was actually just after Civil War. AT still actually happened to be a pastor as well as a physician. He was a Civil War physician. And he just felt that the contemporary methods of treatment, which, we're giving mercury and bloodletting, things that we don't do anymore, we're doing more harm than good. And so that's what made him kind of look this different approach. And with that, really a foundation in looking at primary care. Most of our doctors, or most DOs, a majority will go into primary care compared to our MD brothers and sisters, but we can go into any specialty. For us, it's a dire need here in Mississippi to have primary care docs, and we just completely lean into that mission and embrace it.
Dr. Ben Burnett, president at William Carey, I suppose this is for you, and you'll forgive me for kind of asking two questions in one. They say you're not supposed to do that in journalism school, but I think these kind of go together. One, the commitment from William Carey as a university to the state of Mississippi in the way that you're producing graduates, whether it's with the medical school, with the School of Pharmacy, with some of your business students and partnerships that you've built there. Well, let me just ask that. Let me stop there for a second and let you speak to that and that commitment to your home state of Mississippi.
Well, great question. Thank you for asking. I was talking to Lance offline before we came on the air, and was telling him about my background, being born in the Delta, and but spent most of my life here in Hattiesburg, well over 90%. So the state of Mississippi is extremely important to me. I still have a lot of family in the Delta. My brother is actually a primary care doctor in Yazoo City and has been for over 30 years. So to give back to the state of Mississippi is really my whole mission as president. And I feel blessed that God has allowed me to do this. This is my 40th year in the education field. And I feel like this is the biggest blessing I've ever had. But not just graduating the most doctors. This was the largest medical school in the state. As you mentioned, pharmacy students on the Mississippi Gulf Coast graduate, have classes of around 55 to 60 in each class of the pharmacy school, physical therapy, occupational therapy. But then we also contribute heavily to the education field. I'm a retired school superintendent, and so I spent 28 years in K-12, and I like it on this side of the fence. You need to know.
Uh-oh. Tell you what, we're going to pause there. We've got a commercial break coming up, and we'll continue the conversation with Drs. Ben Burnett, president at William Carey University, and also Dr. Italo Subbarao, who is dean of the College of Osteopathic Medicine at William Carey University. The timing on that was perfect because we needed to take a quick break as well. There is more to talk about. Percentage of graduates serving in rural areas, percentage of graduates practicing in areas with a shortage of healthcare professionals, and a new facility that is continuing the mission of educating students right here in Mississippi on the campus of William Carey University. We'll get to those topics on the other side of this timeout. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Glad to be with you on this Thursday morning, the 9th of April. We're back right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
On with the show.
Is back.
Holy smokes.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Glad to be with you on this Thursday morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Dr. Ben Burnett and Dr. Italo Subbarao are my guests. They are from William Carey University, the president and the dean of the College of Osteopathic Medicine, respectively. Glad to know there are no fires on the campus of William Carey. Also glad to know that the fire alarm works. And I think we're done with that that for the day.
Yeah.
Dr. Burnett, the other thing that I was going to ask you about was kind of the symbolism of on the day that these new U.S. News and World Report rankings were announced. You're also cutting the ribbon on this new facility that is part of your medical school and is so important to continuing to educate primary care providers.
Right. Right. Well, it goes hand in hand, and this new Institute of Primary Care, which is a massive addition to our campus for training our students, but also the medical workforce of the whole state or the whole Gulf South. Is going to help us continue to be leaders in primary care. And so we owe a lot to the Mississippi legislature, because this was built through Recovery Act money, not Mississippi taxpayer money, but funneled through Mississippi legislature. So this has been a great example of how we can receive help in the state and to keep advancing medical education here in Mississippi.
I'm curious, and I don't mean this from a competition standpoint, because I think both play an incredibly important role here in the state of Mississippi. But when you compare the numbers of your students, your graduates, who's staying in Mississippi to those at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, do those stack up pretty favorably?
Yes. And let's just say this at the outset. The state needs both institutions.
Amen.
We are, just generally speaking, we have the fewest number of primary care docs of any state in the country. And on top of that, about a third of our physician population is going in at retirement age. So, we need as many doctors as we can get into our state. But the one thing about University of Mississippi Medical Center is it's an academic medical center. It's an exceptional academic medical center. And that means they're doing specialty care. That's what they do very well. If you're a medical student training in that kind of environment, you're going to be trained primarily by specialists. And when you're trained by specialists, that's going to inform the direction that you want to, go in your clinical career. For us here at William Carey, our focus, of course, is primary care. But when they go into first of all of our faculty are primarily primary care physicians, meaning family medicine, pediatricians, obstetricians. That's who's teaching them here in the first 2 years of medical school. And then when they go out our students will go into essentially 8 sites throughout Mississippi and a few sites in Louisiana. And these sites are, essentially covering the state of Mississippi. And they are working with community hospitals and community physicians. And with that, they have they really get great mentoring. And with that, they become part of the fabric of the community. Many of these community hospitals we have built residency programs with. And so a number of our students, while they're there, they decide, I think this is where I can raise a family. This is where I see the next part of my life. And so they're inclined to live there, to be the doc for the local high school football team, to be the doc that's out there in the community and working with the local school system. So for us, it's a different model of training and education, but I think that's why our kids are more likely to stay in Mississippi and to go into primary care.
I suppose this question would be anecdotal in nature based on conversations that you've had with students and applicants along the way. But generally speaking, do your students come into the DO program at William Carey and say, I want to be a primary care physician? Or are they kind of coming in saying, look, I want to get these first 4 years, I want to learn medicine, and then I will figure out what I want to do?
I think for us, generally speaking, one of the big questions in admissions is, are you interested in doing primary care? Well, we look at the history of the student. Or have they gone out and done Habitat for Humanity? Are they out there doing things? Have they gone on mission trips? We really try to look at the heart, and it's not easy, but we do try to look at the heart, particularly in the interview, to see that there is an inclination towards primary care. And for us, at least, the ability to shadow a primary care physician before they come in. So I do think there's a leaning towards primary care. Everybody has to discover, we want to be open to all possibilities, but at least some level of at least an inclination, a leaning in towards a primary care philosophy. I always say my desire is for all of our doctors to be servant physicians. And that means being able to walk with your patient. I think one of the challenges in medicine and why we've seen so much distrust out there, sadly, is arrogance. looking, not talking down to patients, looking, expecting our patients to just take us at our word and kind of walk out. And, we got to get away from sort of fast food medicine. We got to get away from you're a disease coming in and here's some medicine. We got to get back to, come on in, you're a human being. We have a dignity of life here. You matter. And let's walk with you and figure out what's going on. Let's get to know your family. And I think that's where transformation really happens, and where transformation is happening in Mississippi.
I hope this question is practical in nature. I'm thinking about the time when my wife and I were in school together. I was a journalism major that barely got by, although I love what I'm doing. My wife was brilliant, and I think she won every academic award that was given at the time. And she thought strongly about medical school, but ultimately decided that from a family standpoint, that might not be the right way to go because of the length, because of the hours on the backside of that. So, if we've got a high schooler that happens to be listening, in terms of practicality, what are the salaries like for primary care physicians? Are they making good incomes in that role? And what about the time commitment for medical school to be a primary care physician versus specializing in becoming a cardiothoracic surgeon or a neurosurgeon or a dermatologist?
You bring up, it is a very practical question. I'm grateful that you've brought that up. The thing about primary care in the state of Mississippi, it pays very well. You can have a very good living in the state of Mississippi. Now, if you go outside the state, may not be, primary care in general, their salaries are going to be lesser than the orthopedic surgeon or the brain surgeon and things of that nature. But in Mississippi, it is highly valued and very well reimbursed. That being said, what I can share with you is there is a practical cost to medicine. Medicine is costly. Healthcare is costly. We here at Carey and working with our partners are looking for ways to potentially accelerate education in an appropriate way. Is there a way we can get folks through medical school and into residency a little bit quicker, a little bit cheaper, get them out there to be a contributor faster? And generally speaking, primary care residencies are 3 years generally speaking. So they are shorter than going to orthopedic surgery or neurosurgery, which could be 5 to 7 years. But that being said, I always say the student, it's about the heart. You've got to look inside yourself. You've got to ask yourself, where do you see yourself fit? Because if you're a good doctor, you're going to have patients, because that attracts your patient base.
Dr. Burnett, I'll give you the final word this morning. There has been incredible growth, rapid growth within the university as a whole, and specifically the College of Osteopathic Medicine. Can that growth continue, or do you have capacity limitations that will cause you to have to slow just a bit?
It's probably not going to continue and be sustainable at the percentage. We grew, Richard, from last year to this year, university-wide by 14%.
Wow.
Which was more than any public or private institution in the state of Mississippi. That kind of growth is not sustainable. We were almost out of dorm beds on the Hattiesburg campus last year, and our residency applications right now are running a couple of hundred ahead of this time last year. So, we're headed toward a situation going into next year. So we really want to concentrate on who we have now and just to double down. We've done a lot of things around both campuses to make them campus friendly for our students and have the best possible experience. We're renovating dorms. We've renovated the cafeteria. We've just added a lot of outdoor things around here. So our students have a great place to come and live and go to school. We're also looking and planning very quickly on breaking ground for residence halls on our Biloxi campus, at the Tradition campus, where our pharmacy school is, because it also has many of our undergraduate programs down there as well. So,
gentlemen, we are
growth has been tremendous.
Outstanding. We're up against the clock. I appreciate your time, Dr. Ben Burnett, Dr. Italo Subbarao. Outstanding work that's happening at William Carey University and the College of Osteopathic Medicine. Wish you all the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
From this with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good morning once again. Perhaps your day is already off and rolling and you're still including us in your early morning plans. We appreciate that. Or maybe you're just now headed into work, or I don't know, maybe you got the day off and you're headed to the golf course. Whatever it is, we appreciate you joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. I want to give you a quick Masters leaderboard update. You have Jose Maria Olazabal currently in the lead, 2 under through 5 holes. Greiserman, Kitayama, and Jarvis are all at 1 under. Only, I don't know, a couple of dozen golfers on the course at this point. But how about a throwback to, I don't know, 1999 with Jose Maria Olazabal?
And your execution of Castilian Spanish was perfect there, man.
Thank you. I just finished a book on Augusta, and the author, or not the author, but the guy that was reading. By the way, Jose Maria Olazabal won it in 1999. I did not remember specifically that was the year, but I just nailed it. Boom, throwback to 1999. Anyway, the guy that was reading the book on Audible mispronounced Olazabal, and it drove me crazy. Do not adjust your Super Talk TV television set. It is not Monday. No reason to panic. And yet, JT Mitchell from the Super Talk Mississippi news team joins us on this Thursday morning. I don't even know that we have specific breaking news that we have to hit, but we do want to bring a little recognition to Local News Day. Good morning, JT.
Richard, twice in 1 week. I'm a lucky man. Good to see you.
Very kind of you.
And thanks for letting us get a moment. It is Local News Day, celebrated April 9th today. This is an initiative being spurred by some of our fellow press associations across the nation. If people out there did not know, the Super Talk Newsroom is a member of the Mississippi Press Association. And so we try every single day to bring the important stories to you, everybody out there. And so states across the nation we're using today to remind people what local newsrooms do, what local journalists are doing, and how we're trying to provide trusted information to the masses.
I think you and I know, and all of our listeners know, that the trust that exists with national media outlets maybe is broken beyond repair. You probably get your news from an organization that you generally align with politically. If you lean to the left, there are lots of opportunities. There are lots of organizations. If you tend to lean more to the right, there are fewer, but there certainly are a few options for you there. I would like to believe, JT, that there is still significant trust that goes along with local news. Do you believe that?
1,000%. I know a lot of local journalists across this state. Nobody is waking up. The ones I know, and the ones I know personally, sure, there are some people nationally and maybe even in the state that go the opposite way, but most journalists, opposed to popular belief, do not wake up and choose to wreak havoc on the world. People get into this industry to provide info, to cover the stories that people need to know about. I mean, whether that's evacuating for a hurricane, whether that's a criminal in your neighborhood, or whether that's just something really cool your neighbor down the street is doing. That's why we get into it. There feels like there's a purpose here. And we can talk more about this national distrust if you want. I will say that Local News Day today, that's what we're trying to do, Richard. We're trying to reconnect everyone with local outlets that wake up every day and try to support and strengthen our communities, in our case, being a statewide voice, our state.
Do you feel like the trust that has been lost with national news outlets or the quote-unquote mainstream media makes your job more difficult?
Yes, I do. Whether that break in trust is valid or not. When it comes to national media, you kind of got to learn how to play the game. And I say that because if you watch Fox News, if you watch CNN, pick your channel of choice, what that pundit or what that talk show host is saying is what they're paid to do. That's analyze, that's bring news to people, but in their own way. Now, if you go read the digital products for Fox News or for CNN, it's much different. It's similar to how we're set up, honestly, Richard, that there's different levels, different networks within these companies. And honestly, and this is probably an issue that has been born because we haven't done a good job of explaining it. And I say we, I talk about the national people. I feel like us at SuperTalk have tried to do a good job of explaining it, that these companies are built in certain ways. They have a newsroom that is kind of a nucleus of a multi-nucleate company, right? We provide the objective headlines, the objective stories, and then the talk shows or the rock jocks, talk hosts, whoever, can take those and be like, hey, our news team did a great job covering this. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. Let's analyze this. Let's talk to some people about this. That's how a lot of national companies are set up. But there is a widespread belief that what you watch on Fox News or CNN is the news itself. And it's not really like that. I challenge people to look at a lot of digital products, but also listen to the analysis that you can get on any TV channel or radio station.
I would like to give you the opportunity, and if you don't want to take this, then you're just a bad leader.
Okay, thanks.
But
I'll
give you the opportunity anyway to tell us about the people that work on your news team in your department.
Thank you, because this boat doesn't float without them. The people who work for SuperTalk News, are full-timers like Kelly Bennett and like Caleb Sailors, and then all of the contributors, all of the stringers out there, and then even the people who work on the talk side or the music side, but send story tips to us. It is a well-oiled machine, and that's how we deliver the stories that matter to all of the listeners, all the readers, because we may be delivering different stories on air than we are online. And so these people that I just have the absolute pleasure of working with, they're the best in the business. And I mean that. I would get up right now if I did not mean that. They are the best in the business. They know how to be objective reporters. And they know how to be a dang good objective reporter as well. So the people that work for the SuperTalk newsroom are just incredible.
You do have a relatively small staff right now, which makes it hard to cover everything all the time. You mentioned a second ago tips that you get from listeners, from readers at supertalk.fm. If there's a story that one of our listeners thinks that SuperTalk needs to be looking at, needs to be covering, maybe needs to be investigating, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you or somebody on the news team?
Great point. If you have story tips or concerns or feedback, I love it. Anything like that, you can email news@supertalk.fm, and I'll even go a step further. Email me directly if you want, jtmitchell@supertalk.fm. You want
to give a phone number also?
Well, we can't do this without the people out there.
He's just going to ignore me.
Hey, I tell you, I have a lot of stringers out there, a lot of tipsters out there who have my cell number. If our relationship gets pretty good via email, you will have my cell, I promise. A lot of people have it. You could probably get it if you ask your neighbor.
Probably so. And personal experience, I will tell you, obviously what JT and I do are very different things, but I think we've developed a pretty good working relationship. And if I'm at an event and I'm like, hey, man, this might be something you want to look into, and maybe I snap a picture or give him a little bit of background, it's like, hey, he just turned that into a story. Just try to kind of keep things on each other's radar. And in a lot of ways, that's how local news works, right? Whether you're talking about a local radio station, statewide radio station, a television network, a newspaper, in whatever form they still exist, and they do exist some, especially locally, that's the way it works a lot of times, it's people kind of sharing ideas and stories with others.
Yeah, even though we have different jobs, we have similar goals, and that's to provide information to people, right? That's to let people know what's going on. So I can't do it without you. I can't do it without the people who work in other markets as well. You know, the people out there know this, but SuperTalk is a huge company. I mean, it has 22 in-house stations. My new service has 50 plus affiliates, talk, music, etc. And without people in those individual stations, give me a shout and saying, hey, you know, I think we just had a shooting at a local fast food restaurant. Hey, we have what I think is the best high school football team ever in this state. Or, hey, there's a girl who lives here in my local community who's about to compete on the world stage in powerlifting, or whatever it is. You know, I can't do it without those people. So, and especially the listeners and readers, contact me, contact us. We need you, and we do this for you.
JT Mitchell is the SuperTalk Mississippi news director. Today is Local News Day. If you happen to, in your community, come across somebody that works at a radio or television station or a newspaper, give them a high five or a fist bump or a thumbs up, or just tell them, hey, job well done, keep up the good work. JT, we appreciate you very much.
Well, I appreciate y'all. Yes, sir.
Look forward to chatting with you on Monday morning.
All right. See you then, Richard.
You're not off the hook for Monday just because you came in on Thursday.
I know. And
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. We'll wrap things up with you coming up next.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
Last time with you on this Thursday morning. I'll be back with you on Monday morning. I do wish you an incredible weekend. Looks like the weather is just going to be spectacular. A reminder that our 7 o'clock hour each and every day is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you are not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services and a custom plan that fits you. To learn more, give them a call, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Middays with Gerard Gibbert today is live from South Highland Colony Parkway in Ridgeland, talking Madison County economic development. That will be good. On today's episode of In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, you will hear from Ken Hart, who is an author and songwriter. He's penned hits for the likes of Lee Brice, Jake Worthington, and the legendary Marshall Tucker Band. You can listen to In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar today at 1 p.m. right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. And finally, a reminder that two music giants, Post Malone and Jelly Roll, will be making a stop at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium on the Ole Miss campus on Friday, June 5th. And SuperTalk is giving you a chance to win. Joining them in Oxford will be a country music singer, Carter Faith. Go to supertalk.fm to find a registration spot near you. 10 pairs of tickets and one grand prize winner that will get sweet seats, skybox, inside Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. This giveaway brought to you by Legacy GMC in Laurel. I want to read this to you from a post on X. Hugh Hewitt writes this, and it struck me as really, really interesting. As we are now on the eve of what perhaps are the most significant peace negotiations in a generation. Hugh Hewitt writes, when Vice President Vance and his colleagues, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, meet with Iranians in Islamabad Friday, they ought to go into the negotiations with the knowledge that some meetings enter the history books. Just say Munich or Reykjavik in the course of a conversation about foreign affairs, and whole narratives are summoned up. A raft in the middle of the river Niemen, Appomattox, Yalta. Each place is a geographical location where meetings and agreements held or reached there made history and drove the world forward, and Islamabad might join their ranks this weekend. The Americans cannot be thinking about gas prices and a midterm election, but about the decades and even centuries ahead. Iran is a menace to the world, and it has been exposed as run by lunatics, radical religious fanatics, indifferent to the countries it strikes and to the reputation that attaches to those who use the terror and mass executions. The old despot is gone, and much, if not all, of the leadership of Iran's regime on February 28th. The junta atop the remnants of the fanatical regime should not be able to snatch any victories from its massive defeat. POTUS and Secretary Rubio should keep reminding the trio and their staffs that a successful negotiation would be a triumph and remembered as such, but infamy will attach to any sort of appeasement or half measures that allow the regime to claim a victory. President Trump risked his place in history by taking on the longest existing national security threat to America and the Middle East, to Israel and all of the Gulf allies and beyond. His representatives have to be willing to walk out and relay the word to the White House that the new people are as radical and unwilling to join the world if that turns out to be the case. President Trump remarked this week that the United Kingdom could not allow itself to be led by another Neville Chamberlain. He knows the risk of appeasement, just as Reagan did in Iceland when he refused to abandon SDI and walked out on Gorbachev. The collapse of those negotiations looked like a disaster at the time, but it was a triumph. The VP, Witkoff, and Kushner have to know what they must obtain and what they cannot agree to. At a minimum, the strait must reopen. Recovery and transfer of the highly enriched uranium would be a crowning diplomatic achievement, but if the new bosses are as crazy as the old ones, walk away. Really, really interesting words there from Hugh Hewitt. We love communicating with you, and the C Spire text line is the way to do it. C Spire is a company that is rooted in the state of Mississippi. It was born here, it has grown here, and it has chosen to live here. That's what we want for our students. That's what we want for people who are growing up. C Spire, a shining example of what that looks like, showing that you can be wildly successful with Mississippi as your home. Remember that when you're thinking about a cell provider. Remember that when you're thinking about fiber to the home internet. Remember that when you're thinking about business IT solutions. C Spire chose Mississippi, just like you. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. Covered a lot of ground. Appreciate all of our guests and my running buddy, my partner, my main man, Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard Cross. Have a great Thursday. Enjoy the Masters. Enjoy the weather. I'll be back with you on Monday morning. Until then, keep it between the ditches.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.